Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Ground Your Life with DZ. I'm Daniela. The last video, I did talk about some interesting dreams that I'd had over the past week, and so I wanted to just recap on those today and the messages that I took from those, which, applied to the collective and not just myself, and I felt that they were a greater message for the collective, and I was inspired to do a video about them, especially when several of them had a repeating theme several nights in a row. So, before I get onto the dreams, actually, as a continuation of the last video where I was talking about all of these messages from the number plates, one of the messages I didn't get to talk about, and it didn't really relate to the New Zealand story, so I thought I'd keep it separate. But I was driving along in my car one day, and actually, I think it was at a lights or something, slowed down, and I was just putting it out there, the question to the universe, to my higher self, to the, you know, to anybody that or anything from within myself and the collective consciousness that wanted to give me a message. And the question that I was asking was, is the are the negative entities, or is the negative energy predominantly gone now? Or, has it been sort of cleaned up, or this kind of line of questioning? And very, very interesting. I think it was the first number plate that I looked at, and it could not pass me by. I'll show you. It said, "See you, bye." Have I done this upside down? I'm showing it upside down. It said exactly this, CIYABYE, a number plate that said, "See you, bye." And I took that as a very clear message from the universe that things are going well. I don't think you could be any more clearer than "see you, bye." They're going, they're being clear. It's the negativeness is being cleared. The dark is being cleared, if you want to say. Anyway, that was one interesting message that I did receive. And I just want to talk about now my dreams. So these all happened literally in the last week. The first dream that was very, very significant, and by the way, it was also when my husband and my 6-year-old son were in New Zealand, and I was here with my 1-year-old, and we co-sleep. So I co-sleep with my 1-year-old, and so don't know if that's got anything to do with why my dreams were more intense, that I only had her to sort of attend to, or not my 6-year-old. I don't know, but they were just so much more intense. I also felt it might have been something to do with there was lots of astrological events going on, especially around April 12th. And it was literally like April 12th, April 13th, April 14th, I think, or April 11th, 12th, and 13th that I had these vivid dreams. So the first one was I woke, there was lots going on in my dream, which I can't fully remember, but what I awoke to was someone. It could have been me, didn't really matter who it was, but it was someone sweeping crumbs off a floor with a brush and shovel. And this went on for ages. Like, I'm not sure how long, in the dream state that was, because 1 second might feel like 10 minutes, but it was like 10 or 15 minutes, it felt like, of someone just sweeping crumbs in the in a kitchen or on a floor, like just in the corner, just sweeping crumbs. It was so vivid, and I couldn't forget it when I woke up. And I reflected to my higher self on what this meant, and it was a really clear message to me that what is going on in terms of, from the, if you want to say, the good, the white hats, the good, the goodness of our souls, the anything positive, it's being, anything of the dark is being, there's only tiny crumbs being swept up, if that makes sense. So if we're talking about underground tunnels, if we're talking about things to do with the children, if we're talking about government and politics, if we're talking about just all the big cleanups that are going on in the systems in the world. There was a very clear message to me that it's about just sweeping up those last final crumbs, those last final breadcrumbs. And it was a very positive message, and it was very in my face, if you want to say, well, in my dream, but it was so vivid. And I, I was meant to pass on that message to you guys. So it's a very positive message that I think we're close. The next two dreams that I had were really really different, and I'm still trying to piece together what the crux of the message is. I'll tell you who there was actually. I never usually get celebrities in my dreams. Okay, so I've never been one to idolize celebrities, whether it's football players, whether it's any sporting stars, whether it's pop idols. That's just never been me. I've never understood it. I've never understood why someone would idolize someone else. But the last, I think there was a few different channels where they were having some debate around Russell Brand, and I've never really followed him before. I've seen a couple of videos that people have sent me, but he's never been someone that I follow. And it just happened that, about a couple of weeks ago, I just had a look at a few of his videos. I just sort of wanted to see where he was at and sort of read his energy, and I was getting a little bit of a neutral energy. I was not getting a bad energy, but I definitely was getting that he was a big purpose. And even his name, someone had written in another thread that I'd seen, his name, Russell Brand, if you break it down, Russ, sell brand. So he's to sell brand. He is to sell himself. His position on earth, in the universe, is to sell something, sell his words. It's not necessarily in a bad way. It could be in a positive way. But he's very important with his words. He's a seller. And if you watch any of his work, he's quite mesmerizing and captivating. He really uses his hands. To me, he has had training, whether it's of a divine purpose, but he's had training in his hand movements and things like this. A little bit similar to another politician that I know, or many of the politicians. Some people might say, oh, that's Freemasonry. Some people might say, whatever. But you can take it what it is. But anyway, I'm not going to have my comment on whether Russell Brand is positive or negative. I do believe he's awakening people. He came to me in my dream. It was so vivid. And so the way that the dream went, I've got some notes here just to refresh my memory, but I have a back scratcher, and I use the back scratcher a lot. It's one of those wooden ones with a sort of like a little hook, and so you could get right down into the lower back or your middle back. And he must have been at my house or wherever he was, and he got the back scratcher, and he was scratching his back, but then he was joking around, and he was like, I think even putting it in his pants or something, like to make it. It was a funny joke. It wasn't like sexual, but it was just a funny. He was joking around, clowning around. But then it became really serious, and he was trying to explain to me the importance of a back scratcher and the moment arm. So the force, like the force vector. I've got to refresh my physics, and I work a lot with moment arms as in the past as a physiotherapist, so it is something that I'm familiar with. It's never come to me in a dream before, but what Russell Brand actually did was, in my dream, he got a pen and a paper, and he was drawing. I don't know if I can try to do it. He was drawing, forces and things. This is a watered down version, but he was drawing, angles and arrows and force vectors and things. And he was explaining to me the moment arm and how important I needed to remember the word moment arm and needed to understand about this moment arm force. So if you think about it in a bicep curl, for example, if you are lifting a weight in a bicep curl, when you are at that sort of 90-degree mark, it's a larger moment arm, so you have to use more force. If you had the weight close to your face, you don't have to use as much force. It's pretty easy to hold there. But if you were holding at that 90 degree, it's much harder to hold. So it was a very important message to me about moment arm. I'll explain what I believe the meaning is in a minute, because the second night, so this is now on another night, it wasn't Russell Brand this time. It was. I appeared to be at, I think, my husband's work, but it was different. But I was at a warehouse sort of workplace, and there was someone that I knew. It was a male that I knew. I don't know if it was an ex. I don't know if it was a friend. It was just seemed to be a male figure that I knew. Maybe it was someone that I just knew in a past life, or it was a soul connection. And if you can imagine, we were at like a retail warehouse, and so this guy just starts climbing the entrance, and there was like a big beam of sort of timber, and he starts trying to snap the timber. He's climbing, and he's pulling, and he's trying to snap this bit of this timber beam, and he snaps it. And everyone in the warehouse is like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What's he doing?" And I'm just thinking, "What are you doing?" And he looks at me and says, this is the moment arm, the snap, the snap. You need to remember the moment arm and the snap." And I'm thinking, I woke up, and both times I had to write it down because it was in the middle of the night and I was going back to sleep, and sometimes you don't remember again. And these were the messages that my higher self relayed to me. So, one was that the matrix is about to snap, or the illusion is about to snap. The truth bombs, or the frequency is about to take a big turn. It's going to snap. Okay, that the moment the force of and the snap. Everyone has a snapping point. So I've always said this. I've always said it. So where there are some people that we would consider not awake to certain things, I've always said everyone will reach a snapping point. I think my snapping point was a few years ago. I'd always been awake to certain things, but my snapping point was a few years ago, a couple of years ago only, really, when I was pregnant with my daughter, and my husband wasn't allowed to come into the hospital for more than 15 minutes after the birth, and then for only 1 hour a day in the hospital after I'd just given birth. And I'd found out about these restrictions a few weeks before, and I was just crying. I was calling the midwife, and I was like, is this for real? It was my snapping point. And I had a few other snapping points, but there are certain things within this illusion that we live in where you will get to a point and you snap out of it, and you think, whoa. And so this was the message from the dream, is that everyone's got a snapping point, and a lot of people are about to snap, so that something is about to happen, or the consciousness is about to snap even without something specific happening. It could have already happened, and it's just people are waking up to that and snapping and waking up. Also, in a moment, the word moment. So things are going to happen in a moment. It's really, and it's momentous. And then the force is equal to the frequency. So as people ascend in their frequency, as people raise their frequency, it really takes less force to snap into that different consciousness. So I just thought that was a really interesting set of dreams that I'd had. And if anyone has any comments on what they think the moment and why that was so important, why two people, including Russell and Brad, came into my dream to tell me to make a video about the moment arm, please leave it in the comments. I'm interested in everyone's interpretation of that. This was just my interpretation. So I'm wondering what further dreams are coming my way. I'd love to hear about all of your dreams. I know so many of you have very interesting dreams. So please leave it in the comments, because it's so important that other like-minded people are seeing, that they're not alone, and that there are other people having these interesting dreams. We all have psychic abilities. We all have telepathic abilities. We all have the ability to reach our higher selves and receive messages. So all you need to do is ask. And sometimes, you'll experience a dream or remember, but you just won't write it down, or you'll forget about it. It happens so quickly. So use this as a bit of a reminder to tap into your dreams, to your dream space, if you want. And I'd love to hear your stories. Bye.